Hi guys, and welcome to NUCastle, the Sports Foundation here at Newcastle United for the 8th and final leg of our HADO Championship for BBC Children in Need. See, all the way through the stream, you'll be able to see these behind me. Should you feel inspired, and please do get inspired, remember to text to donate some money to Pudsey, so they will do awesome things with it. Now, we've got 6 teams competing today. They're going to be working in a single round robin pool, battle round against each other to give us our top teams for today. We'll play off in the final and then go through to the bot challenge. Now, obviously, we've done 7 of these already. It's our 8th and final tournament. And these from today, we're going to be having a finalist who's going to challenge this bot element right at the end of the day. And if they can do well enough, they may be able to deny our winners from our very first tournament, Barnsley College, who've held on to match after match after match into the top 2 slot. If they can do well enough, they may still be able to deny Barnsley College a space on the final BBC show, taking place on 10th of November. If not, Barnsley will be going through. We already know that our current first place team, because they can't be knocked out, not enough opposing teams coming in, which is Cardiff Youth Services from the Bangor University Championship, are going to be going through to the show. So today we find out, is it Barnsley or is it Newcastle that are taking that second spot? So it's really all to play for today. Our first 2 teams are just getting kitted up on the court. Our opening teams are Up the Mags on red and Bruno in the middle on blue. They're going to be followed by Team Matty versus No Direction and then Purple Rain versus NUF. All the matches are going to be played as a best of 3. So we're going to run it as a single pool, so all the teams are going to play against each other as we roll through the round robin games here. And as ever with these matches, we're going to expect to see constant sort of evolution of the teams as we go, constant improvement in play, in their capacities, and so on. So these matches get faster and faster and more involved and more tactical as we work the way through the sequence. Let's go courtside and see how they are doing. Okay, so teams just get themselves prepped and ready. Coach Shamai just giving some final instructions before we get into our first match. So teams just getting themselves prepped and good to go. Now, for those that haven't seen HADO before, HADO is an augmented reality sport. That means you still see the real world and everything in it, but now with these graphics added into the real world with you. Therefore, it means you can move with speed and confidence in the space. You're not disconnected from reality in any way, except now, of course, you can throw energy blasts from your hands. In front of each player there, you can see a target disc made of 4 sections. That's what you're trying to hit. Okay, not the player, you're trying to hit that target. And that target is exactly the same size no matter who the player is, which means that within the sport, every person is the same physical size. Those blasts of energy you're throwing, they only go at the speed they're programmed to, which means every player is the same strength. So it's a kind of true level playing field sport with no age or gender categories. Right, think it looks like we're good to go. Let's see what our players here in Newcastle can do. So, again, that is Up the Mags on red versus Bruno in the middle on blue. Game on. Good shields there from the Mags straight off. Early points on the board for them as well. 2-1. 3-1 after the first 10 seconds. Bruno needing to put some work in here if they're going to get back into the game. 5-3. Bruno starting to fight back here, but Mag's still holding him off. Bruno now 5-4, starting to close that gap down. 5-all. 8-5. Mags re-extending their leads. Good shield on the far side there. Bruno left it in play for way too long. Bruno players just kind of relying on firepower here by the looks of it. Mags with a nice interspersal shields amongst their players. 13-7, 14-8. Mags really putting the pressure on here. 6-point difference. Bruno with a huge man to climb if they're going to close the gap in this game. Coming up on 20 seconds remaining. 5-point difference now. Mags re-extending it to a full 6 points. 7 points now. Mags absolutely tearing Bruno apart here. 10-point difference. 11. 10-point difference there. So that's a huge controlling win for the Mags there. I mean, not a lack of score going in from Bruno at all, but just Mags absolutely dominating the field there. Biggest issue, again, these are novice players, as they are with all of our tournaments, and you can see that not the greatest amount of movement. And obviously, the more you stand still, the easier you are for the other team to hit. So you need to start getting some manoeuvrability in the space, shifting around, making yourself harder to hit. But overall, pretty good. Low shot rates though from both sides. All around to like the high 30s, low 40s there. What we've had plenty of matches over the last couple of weeks. We've been doing this where we've been seeing teams regularly in the high 50s, even low 60s. Despite the amount of points they were landing there, it was actually really low in terms of the total shots fired. Now, part of that is obviously spent a lot of time knocked out of play. So every time that target in front of you is destroyed, you're out of game for 3 seconds before you come back in on full life. So if you look at it there, was it a 24-point score? So that's 72 seconds of game time across that whole team. It's almost an entire match for one player where they were knocked out of game. So that's obviously going to have a huge impact on the number of shots you can fire, and therefore the amount of pressure you can put the other team under and what you can achieve. So teams getting rigged now and ready for game 2. So remember, this is a best of 3, so it's not necessarily open for over Bruno yet, but they're going to have to put in a good game here if they're going to take this one off the Mags and push through to a third round decider. Right, let's see if what Bruno learned from that first game and what they can do in game 2. It's like just final quick pointers there from Coach Shamai before we get the game started. Yep. Any questions or comments, guys? Feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll try and respond as we go, and keep you up to date on how things are proceeding. So, game 2. Here we go. Good shields both sides. Both teams trying to get a little bit of early control. Mags again with the first points on the board. 3-0 this stage. Bruno are on the board now. 3-point lead for Mags though. Bruno have got to catch them. I mean, the momentum, the scoreline that Mags were able to get in that first game, Bruno cannot afford to allow them to get ahead. There's a lot of fixation from the Bruno players on desperately trying to get shields up. If you're 6 points down, you don't need shields, you need points. You cannot afford to get fixated on them. Coming up on the halfway mark, 6-point lead for Mags at this stage. Good double shield there in the centre, really locking down the options for Bruno. Front side Bruno player getting absolutely obsessed with trying to get his shields up rather than shooting. 12 points down at this stage. In game 1 looked controlling for the Mags, but game 2 is looking like an even bigger lead for them. Very dominating play at the moment. 10 seconds remaining now. Mags again extending that lead. 3, 2, 1. 21-13. That's 2 very strong wins there for the Mags. They're clearly going to be a team to watch as we go through the tournament. Hopefully, as we move through as well, Bruno are going to learn game on game, and we're going to start to see more movement, more evasion, and less of a fixation on trying to get the shields up, especially when you're behind on points. So coming up next, we have Team Matty coming in on red and No Direction coming in on blue. So Team Matty on red, No Direction on blue. So nice opening match there, a lot of firepower. Obviously very high score lines there. We generally see those really high score lines when the teams aren't particularly mobile within space, because obviously it makes you easy to hit, and the easier you are to hit, the easier it is to win the points. So as you go through, it's going to start to see those teams move a lot more, and start to dodge and evade as the experience of play starts to come through. And as we do that, we'll see those score lines start to come down from those real high numbers and start to get them into sort of like more manageable territories. Because obviously the more your opponents are dodging and moving, the less you're going to score. And of course, obviously you're going to be doing the same within the same time frame. So, teams just moving through now to get prepped and ready. Obviously, once again, This broadcast is being brought to you courtesy of the cool little wheel box that we've been taking with us tournament to tournament, courtesy of Virgin Media 2 and Ericsson, and that's our own little private 5G network that we're doing all these broadcasts through, running the games through, everything, allowing us to go to all these different environments without having to worry about, is there a cable to connect to, don't have to worry about their firewalls or anything else. We've just got a complete self-contained broadcast network, really. That's why we are broadcasting on it. Which is all really cool. And of course, so I'm going to keep reminding you, text these numbers, send money to Pudsey. They will do great things with it. Okay, so our next two teams are on court and getting prepped and ready. So let's move over to have a look. So these first outings for both teams again. So this is Team Matty on red and No Direction on blue. So Matty on red, No Direction on blue. Let's see what these guys can do. So really dominating win from the red side last time. From Mags. Good shield there from No Direction. Slowing down the initial flow, but first points on the board for Matty. 3 points on the board for Matty. 4, 5. No Direction desperately need to get on the board here. Almost no firepower coming out of No Direction. Look at those shields coming up. Looks like they're getting fixated on shields rather than on shooting. You can dodge every shot coming in if you need to. The shields are handy, but they're really not something to get fixated on. And it's a common error amongst players in the first couple of games, and you lose so many point scoring opportunities by that fixation on the shields. 14-5 now, 15-5. Really strong for Matty against No Direction here. So 10 points, 11 points now. 20 seconds on the clock. No Direction needing a huge fight back here. Slowly racking the points in, but I think it's going to be way too little too late with only 10 seconds left on the clock now. Three, 2, 1. It's an 11-point difference there. 23-12 in favour of Matty on red against No Direction on blue. So, Team Shimai's going in to give No Direction some advice. Hopefully, telling him to not worry so much about the shields. As I said, shields are great. They stop incoming fire. They're nice to hide behind. But you've only got 3 of them. They only stop 3 shots. So they're okay. They're useful. But they're really not the be-all and end-all. Now, the biggest problem is that people in the early games get fixated trying to raise the shields. And if they haven't quite got the arm position right, there's a little bit of skill to how you get them to activate. But it takes 2 seconds to prep and activate a shield. So, drop your arm, prep and activate the shield. During that process, you get hit and knocked out, which was happening quite a lot there. That's 3 seconds. You come out the far side and knock out, you realise you're out again, drop your arm, prep another shield, and this time, let's say you get it up. So you've got your shield up. That's taken, with a little bit of, buffer time inside, about 8 seconds. Which doesn't sound a lot until you realise the whole match is only 80 seconds. That's 10% of the entire game over trying to raise 1 shield, rather than either getting the shield up first time or realising you have a problem with getting the shield and just going to basically shoot, to dodge, to move around space, make yourself hard to hit, and then when you've got a little time later on, look and flick another shield up if it's advantageous to do so. But it is so really easy to get caught up on these sort of things in your first few games, because basically you want to be protected. There's lots of things coming at you. You generally see players coming up against the back wall, so they're feeling safe, or they clump together because they feel safe, or they try and put shields up. Obviously, try and put shields up when they're not activating correctly, you get shot. You put your back against the back wall, you can't dodge, you've got nowhere to go. Clump together, and the whole opposing team just crossfire into your one position. So all 3 of these instincts are quite detrimental to early players in the game. Here we go. Game 2. Points on the board both sides now. Staying even here in the first few seconds. 3 points apiece. Much better performance here from No Direction. No Direction just starting to edge ahead now of Matty. Can they get some momentum going here and try and get a bit of space for themselves and the red team? 8 points apiece. Nothing to choose between them here. Red slowly starting to edge. 2 point lead. Blues need to catch that up again. Seeing what happens if a team starts to get a bit of momentum and starts to move ahead of their opposition. So hard to pull that back. Just past the halfway mark, there's just a single point between the teams. Coming up on 30 seconds now. 13-13, 14-14. These teams are going actually point for point. Again, Red's just edging very slightly here. Blues have got to pull this back. They've got 20 seconds, plenty of time to do it. It's only a 3 point difference. Pick those shots, really focus on. Look at the players that aren't moving on the other side. 10 seconds, 4 points. 4 points is difficult. That's a full team wipeout +1. 6 points now. No Direction were looking so good all through the early stages of this match, and Matty just up the acceleration there, up the pressure on the gameplay and that final quarter, and just push the game out of No Direction's reach. That is 26 points to 20, and the match win to Team Matty. Okay, teams coming off the court now. Coming up next, we'll have Purple Rain on red versus NUF on blue. I'm expecting great things from the NUF team. You know, if you're going to give yourself that name here, you need to perform, because that's the name you've got to live up to here. Right. So looking at those match stats, fairly even. Red 3 looking pretty strong there. 9-3, so a really good ratio between KOs. Basically get dished out and incurred. Overall though, blue player 5 taking the MVP for total KOs scored, but Red's wiping the board with everything else there. Accuracy, movement, shots fired. Yeah, very low movement from the teams there. When you start to see 10-meter movements and things, you know that those players have been pretty much stationary for that 80 seconds. So 10 meters movement means they move 1 meter every 8 seconds of gameplay. It's not far off standing still. You know, a little bit of a shuffle left and right will pretty much do that across 80 seconds. So we need to start seeing a lot more maneuverability in the space. We're looking for dodging, shifting, high-low, really starting to make themselves difficult to hit. And hopefully we'll start to see that coming through as we go through the match. Shot rates again, really, I think it was a 26 total shots fired from one of the blue players. That's really low. I mean, you can see it in the game. The firepower coming out from the blue team was way below what was coming out from the red side of the pitch. So what we saw there again. The second game was much stronger. We saw a real big uptake in No Direction's ability there. I hope you're going to see similar to that again as they come into their next games and so on. But they were really good early on and got to that final quarter. And the red team there just really accelerating away from them, putting the pressure on, and moving that scoreline out of reach. But up until then, the teams were massively more even and much better balanced than they were in game one. And that's just showing this constant growth in ability that we see with the teams as we go game on game here. So this is a final matchup of round one. This is the last two teams, so we haven't seen these guys play yet. And this is Purple Rain on red versus NUF on blue. There's a lot of background noise here because there's a lot of chat going on near us about the course of the matches. So which is always good to hear. Let me know if it's causing a problem though on the audio, and we'll see what we can do about it. So blue team there just getting themselves prepped and ready. Blue team are all, I believe, coaches here at NUCastle. So we're expecting great things from them here. Let's see if they can deliver. Here we go. Game on. This is game one of match 3. Good early shield wall from the Reds there. Nice positioning from blue. Plenty of firepower coming out from both sides. Blue's an early 3-point lead. Red's still to get on the board. See it, Reds are on. 4-point lead still to Blues though. Within HADO, 4 points is kind of your critical number. It takes a full team wipeout +1 for an opposing team to close that gap. So once you've got that 4-point lead, you're as long as you hold it, you're pretty safe as the game goes forward. Good centre shield there. NUF doing really well here, really controlling the field. Opponents fighting back though. Plenty of hits starting to land from Purple Rain there. But NUF now in a 12-point lead. Doing phenomenally well here. Said we were kind of expecting good things from them. They've got a lot to live up to. Looks like they're going to deliver in game 1. Let's see if they can keep this up as we move through the different games. So, yeah, player Blue 4 there. Definitely the player to watch out for. Yeah, with the things like this, what it shows you is when you're looking at the game stats they come through. If you've got a player who's basically really topping that hit count, as we've got here, player 4, 15 KOs to his teammates 1 and 6 respectively. That's the player you need to target. Yeah, they're your risk, they're your threat. They're the one earning all the points for the other side. So you want that player either knocked out, preferably knocked out, or being chased and hunted around the game field, so therefore unable to aim as much as possible. So that's who you need to shut down. That's always going to be your primary target. So primary, always the person who's doing the most damage to you. Secondary, the person who's standing, who's moving the least. Yeah, because they're going to be the easiest target. So you need to stop the person who's earning points for their team, and then you want to farm the person who's not moving. Those are always going to be especially at this stage of tournament, they're going to be your highest priority targets. Now, what we're playing on for these matches is what's called the HADO training mode. So this is automated some of the higher skill functions of the sport, because this is, our teams are rookies and novices. They've not really got that in-depth experience of the sport yet. It'll come in time as they start to play more matches and get through more tournaments, and as they do that, they'll move into the full tournament mode. Now in tournament mode, you can change how far shots travel, how big they are, how you can fire, how many shields you have, so you get different team roles, and you get layerings of strategy and tactics based around that. But enough of me, let's go back to some HADO. Here we go, game 2. Game on. Early lead for the blue team there. Reds on the board earlier than game 1 though. Let's see if Reds can start to make some headway this time. Nice controlled shots going in from the blue team. Reds just really need to start to get themselves a lot more mobile on that back wall. Preferably come off the back wall if they can. Halfway mark now. Blue's starting to significantly move ahead here. Red's got to up that pressure by a lot. They want to try and bring this down at all. 30 seconds now. 12-point lead here to blue team. Red's really in trouble now. 20 seconds remaining. Start to get a bit of side-to-side motion, bit of evasion coming from the red team. But I think this will be too little too late for this match. Hopefully they'll be able to move that, keep what they learned from that and move forward with it into the next games. We'll start to see a big improvement in their play from there. But the NUF team, clearly a dangerous team, and another one to watch as we go through the tournament. And that, again, blue player 4, showing that that's the player that you need to identify and shut down on this NUF team if you want to be able to have it in with a shot or trying to beat them. Okay, so that is the end of the first round of matches. Obviously, we're going to go through a whole series of rounds of matches as we work through this, and we'll see how we go as these run through. but nice opening play there. Obviously, some disparity in the teams on the initial score lines there, but starting to close up all those score lines, shifting and improving as we went just through that first couple of games. Just that limited bit of experience. Now, coming up next, we've got Up the Mags versus No Directions. That's the second game for both teams. Up the Mags won their first game, and No Direction lost their first match. So No Direction are looking for their first match win here. Let's see if they can do it. So teams just on court now, getting themselves kitted up and ready to go. So this is the first game of round 2. So all teams now played, and now start. So hopefully we shoot down start. They've got a bit more experience. They had a bit of training before we started. We didn't just throw it in this blind. But this is going to get. We're hopefully now going to start to see evolution of their ability and their skill sets. Now they're in this much more competitive environment, and moving through to show us more interesting gameplay, a lot more movement around the pitch, evasion, better aiming, and everything else. Let's go back pitch side. So teams get themselves prepped and ready. It's got tactics discussion there from on the blue side, and Coach Shamai there just giving some more tips to the red players. Blue players still need to get their equipment. That does help. So the headsets that players, you can see the players wearing there. A lot of people when they see them assume that they are virtual reality. They are not. As you said, this is AR. So those headsets are specially made for the sport. They're lightweight, skeletonized headsets. So they put as little weight on the head, especially the front of the face, as possible. You've got big cutouts to the side to maintain your natural peripheral vision to your teammates to the side, and also along the base of the mask, so you maintain your natural horizon to the ground, which is why you can move in the space. Not that these players are necessarily moving, but you can move in the space with quite a lot of confidence. So here we go. Game on. Nicely timed shields there from the red team. So red team up the mags, and blue team is no direction. Up the mags were very, very strong in their opening game, whereas no direction, although they improved between the first game 1 and game 2, didn't manage to get a win in their opening match. No direction fighting back well though. I mean, up the mags are starting to extend that lead, but no direction definitely starting to put out a decent amount of firepower now, and working on trying to close down that red team lead. Currently 6-point lead to the Reds still. 8 now. Blues really, really got to up their game here if they're going to close this gap down. 25 seconds. Just 5-point lead now. 6 now. Still not doing bad. They have reduced that lead. 10 seconds left on the clock now. Very, very hard to close this down, especially the double takedown coming in there onto the blue team. 3, 2, 1. Again, another very, very strong win from the Mags team. So, really strong win there for Mags. No direction, got their work cut out from there if they're going to kind of reverse that trend. So, again, sort of kind of what we saw in the first game there from Mags. Really, really strong. No direction, putting up a bit of a fight though. They was definitely starting pulling that scoreline back and trying to catch up to the Mags team. But the Mags just keeping that momentum going really, really well, not getting ruffled by the counter attack and keeping themselves nicely in game there. So good play from both sides. Shots fired actually topping out there from the blue side at 47. Again, this is still low. We'd expect as we go through this, we're going to expect to see those move up into the mid 50s relatively soon. They're all currently, I think the lowest there was 29, ranging through to 47. So these are still really, really low shot counts. Basically, each time they move your arm through from that vertical position to out to horizontal position, it activates that control to send a shot out. So you get, again, if you're taking a lot of time trying to think about raising shields, or you've been hit, you're out of play, obviously you're not shooting during this time very so it's going to bring down your shot count. But also, there's points where you're just trying to pick your shot and choose your perfect moment, again, to get that shot count down. And really, what you probably should have done is run away that one perfect moment, which may not hit because your opponent's moving, putting out a scatter of 3 or 4 shots, both where they are, but also where you think they're going to dodge to try to clip them with at least one of those. So teams are prepped and ready to go for game 2. Just getting the last points there sorted by Coach Shimai. And here we go. Game on. Early lead here for the red team. Blues starting to fight back earlier though than last time. See if they can try and keep the reds within catching distance. It's looking much better from the blues. I mean, reds are still ahead, but nothing by the sort of leads we were seeing in the early parts of the first game. Blues again just got to up that fire rate. I mean, the front blue player, they're doing a great job, but his teammates need to keep firing as well. And they need to move more. They're getting picked apart by the reds here. 30 seconds on the clock, 7-point lead to red team. Mags now extending that to a 11-point lead now, 20 seconds remaining on the clock. No direction, really need to up the pressure in all their games here. Need to see a lot more motion. We can see there the no direction team pretty much standing still, allowing Mags to just farm them for points. If you're going to stand still in a game like this, the other team are just going to use that to earn point after point off you. So very strong. Red 3 there really leading the way. They're 15 KOs. But red 2, incredible accuracy there, just shy of 70%. To be fair, not taking anything away from red 3, I think they were aiming really well. However, sorry, red 2 there. However, I think it was helped a lot by the fact the other team were barely moving. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can maintain that sort of level of accuracy when they get an opposing team that actually move, duck, dodge, etc., make themselves difficult to hit. So next up we have Bruno in the middle on red versus Purple Rain on blue. So Bruno on red versus Purple on blue. Now then, these teams in their opening games, Bruno and Purple Rain were both unsuccessful in their opening matches. So one of them is going to be getting their first match win out of this pair up between them. See who it's going to be. Said I don't think it was a great deal obvious in the way that either of these played in their first matches to really give us a feel for it. Bruno in the middle came against the Mags, who completely controlled the games against them, and Purple Rain were facing off against NUF. Obviously not the same opponents, but not grossly dissimilar scorelines either, though. So I think these two teams can actually be fairly well matched against each other, depending on how much they've learned and what they took away from those earlier games. But I don't think there's really a great deal to pull between these as we go into this match. Should be an interesting game. So again, players just get themselves logged in and ready.
Adam, put your thumb up if you can hear us. I can hear us. Lexi, dab if you can hear us. Adam, you're stepping up the lines there. Go on, Adam, darling.
Okay, centre red player just needing to log in still. Coach Shimai just makes sure everyone's good to go. More spectators making their way into the court area here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. HADO fight. Nice early volleys both sides. First points on the board for red. Blue's on the board now. Fighting back early on, which is good to see. Both teams have been the victims of allowing their opponents to gain momentum and start to push away from them. So Bruno in red, Purple Rain in blue. Bruno just with a small lead at this stage, but Bruno fighting hard to pull that back. Single point splits the team now as we come up on the halfway mark. Nicely played there from Purple Rain. Bruno responding immediately though, just keeping that single point difference between the teams. Bruno constantly trying to move away. Purple Rain pulling that gap back each time. 20 seconds remaining now. Bruno now managed to get that 4-point lead. That means a full team wipeout +1 needed by Purple Rain. 10 seconds left, 5 points on the clock. It's maybe too much for Purple Rain to close at this stage. 3, 2, 1. And that's a good strong win there from Bruno. So Bruno there celebrating their first game win. Remember this though, this is a best of 3, and although they were stronger in that game than Purple Rain, I don't think there was truly that much between the two of them. Just a bit of luck and timing there that helped swing the momentum in Bruno's favour. I'd say this second game is definitely not a done deal in any way. Red player won there, desperately needing to move. 9 meters of motion there. Obviously, player 1 and 3 on the red team, both going point to point, so same number of knockouts scored as incurred. So red player 2, really the member of the team there that was carrying the rest of them, because the other two both ended up as net zeros. So it caused the other team to have more points than them, scoring more themselves. So fundamentally, in terms of their score lines, they may as well not have been there. So that was definitely red 2's game there to win. So our team's going to get prepped and set to go again. Hopefully the blue team have looked at those scores as they were moving around and realised the threat that red 2 represents to them, and are going to do something to try and shut them down. Here we go, game on. Blues looking for their first game win of the tournament. Red's looking to take this game in order to win the match. Good shielding both sides. Points on the board for both teams. Again, this game in round 1 started off fairly even, with Red just slowly edging ahead until they managed to get a little bit of breathing space between themselves and Blues and accelerated off and away from them. Blues holding an early lead here though. Got to see if they can maintain it. Red's fighting really, really hard to shut it down though. Single point lead now for Purple Rain on Blue. Great work for Purple Rain now. They managed to get that 4 points. We said that 4 points is a real key critical point in the scoreline. It's where the opposing team's got to take out your whole squad and one more player. So it's a real key point in your scoring line. 20 seconds. Purple Rain still maintain that 4 point lead. Really, really nicely done from them here. Much, much stronger performance than game 1. But Bruno doing everything they can to close this gap back down. 2 points in it though, and we have the first win for Purple Rain, and we're going through to a 3rd round decider. So great work there from Purple Rain, taking game 2 I mean, we're going through to a third round decider for this match. Blue player 5 really need to get their eye in there. 7 points conceded, 0 points scored. They're clearly at this stage the weak link in Purple Rain, and they're going to need to try and find a way to get past that and get some points on the board for Blue 5 there. Right, so our team's just having a couple of seconds to catch their breath there before they get moved back into this third round decider. So both teams, you said, are looking for their first match win, looked as if the balance of pressure was definitely going in Bruno's favour there, but Purple Rain playing a really good second game there, bringing it back to give themselves a chance to go for this third round decider. Here we go. One way or another, someone's walking away with match points at the end of this 80 seconds. Early shields going up from both sides. From anyone that watched the World Cup out in Japan this weekend just gone, you'll know that actually putting the shields up straight off the bat isn't actually the best option. You want to leave them to around 20 seconds in before you start layering those shields up. 2 point lead for Blues here now. Red's slowly eroding it. Coming up on the halfway mark. Blues still just holding on to that lead. Can they get that 4th point again? Try and get that nice bit of space between them and the opposition. Now Red's absolutely fighting back here fantastically well. Pulling that back to a single point lead for the blue team here. Holding at that 1 point difference now, 20 seconds. This game's going to just pure firepower at this stage. Red's definitely on the back foot because of that. 10 seconds. 2 points of action. Great shield there on the front in this front edge by the blue team, really shutting down the opportunities for Reds to score points and close that gap. 15-18, that is the first match win for Purple Rain. So Purple Rain take the match against Bruno in the middle. So Bruno in the middle still looking for their first match win. Up next we have Team Matty on red versus NUF on blue. So both teams have a match win under their belts. See how they go. You'd potentially say that NUF are the stronger pairing here, the stronger team here, but Team Matty definitely performed really well in that first round. See what they can do. So going well there. Now at this stage that is us 5 matches in with 5 matches to play. So we just hit so one third of the way through now. Moving into the sort of central third of the tournament games, and was in fact the second round, last game of the second round of matchups. So this is Team Matty on red versus NUF on blue. So again, both strong teams getting their first matchups, both match wins under the belts. I think NUF have possibly got the edge here, but Matty definitely played some very, very strong games in their first match. Hopefully they'll be able to give NUF a serious run for their money and possibly even beat them. Let's see where we go. So pull themselves back to courtside. Teams now just getting prepped and ready to go. Coach Shmai just sorting out login element there for the red team. Blue's showing off the fact that their knees bend and are actually able to duck underneath shots. Which may sound a little facetious, but start watching most teams in their early days that moving and dodging like that is a significant problem. Okay, he's got it now. Okay, looks like all our teams are ready. Here we go. So team communication already starting off now. Clear, obvious tactical play starting to come in from NUF. Let's see if the tactics are any good. Early points on the board for Blue there for Team NUF. Reds are on the scoreboard, but already starting to lag behind. Really need to get some stop that momentum from NUF. 4-point lead for NUF now. It's that once you get past that 4-point area, it starts going really dangerous. The other team are your points, so once there's more than greater than a 3-point gap, you've got to wipe out the whole team plus extras to close it down. So that's hard. NUF really good movement around the pitch. Their opponents just way too stationary at this stage. So Team Matty, although they were really good in that opening match here, just not mobile in the space, and NUF are tearing them apart because of that. I mean, the movement from NUF isn't huge. It's not great, but there is movement. And at this stage of gameplay, at this level of experience of the teams, just that starting to get that bit of movement in there is all it needs to really gain control of the game. So the Team Matty players may as well have their feet nailed to the ground at this stage. Whereas NUF nicely moving around the space, making themselves much harder to hit. So Team Matty desperately need to start moving then. Blue player 4 on NUF absolutely dominating. Blue player 6 not doing bad, but blue player 4 dominating. And blue player 5, what went wrong there? I mean, yeah, blue player 5. I think needs to have a word with himself. And but nice play across the field from pretty much everyone else. Fire rates, again, unsurprisingly, for the red team, they're quite low because the amount of time they spent knocked out of play. So 36 points against you. That is 108 seconds of knockout time. So across 3 players, that's a full game for one player and another 28 seconds for another player of just out of play, unable to do anything. So each time that target's destroyed, obviously the other team has a point, you're out for 3 seconds, and these really start to add up. Obviously when you're out of play, you're not offering threat to the other team, you're not raising shields, you're not firing shots, and they're able to then concentrate the fire on your teammates. So it's really, so obviously one, you don't give the points away, but it really does make it harder and harder for your team when you're out. And if you're out for that long a period of time, you're going to really struggle. So Reds here have got to move. If you look at that last game, their feet may as well be nailed to the ground, and if you're locked in a position like that, especially against a team who's starting to get their eye in for accuracy, you've got really no opportunity to survive or get out of this. You're just going to get pinged with shot after shot. So you've got to start moving into space. Now, we're talking moving a lot. I mean, obviously they didn't move a lot there. Even the biggest moves we've seen so far have been only about the 40-metre mark. What we're ideally looking forward for as teams moving forward is to get bigger and bigger motions. When you get through to full Premiership tournament level, we're like 80 metres plus, quite often actually regularly 100 metres plus from players in terms of their movement. So we're not expecting quite that level today, but we'd like to see a lot more than we're currently seeing. And so definitely, in terms of accuracy and tactics, I don't think there's actually much between these teams. It was just the movement from Team NUF there that made the difference. Yeah, nice centre shield. Same tactics from NUF as they used in the first game. It's perfectly reasonable. They worked after all. Red starting to get rid of those shields quite well. New shields coming in from NUF. Matty absolutely locked in that back wall. Again, Matty just not moving. If you've got shields like that, you can just advance up towards the front corners and shoot behind them. But if you're locking yourself in position, not prepared to move around the pitch, you're going to get caught again and again. So 40 seconds remaining now. Huge dominating scoreline there from NUF at this stage. Good shields from Matty trying to buy themselves a bit of time, but they didn't manage to capitalise on it. And if you're going to raise shields, you've got to earn points off them. There's so much time and effort involved in getting the shield up. If you don't do something beneficial with it, you may as well have just kept firing. Very, very controlling scoreline from NUF here. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. And red player 4, 24 knockouts there. So what we're seeing is, without a shadow of a doubt, that red player 4 is the player to watch. If you're up against Team NUF, you need to target all of your firepower on that player. You have to keep them locked out of the game. They are just causing so much damage to the opposing team just on their own, that out of everything, all 3 of your players should just be hunting them around the pitch. Constant crossfires into them, pretty much ignoring the rest of their team, to be honest, and just hunting them. Because somebody who can put a scoreline like that Latin needs to be shut down by their opposition, because fundamentally that is immensely good, and there's no two ways about that. So full kudos there to Blue Floor, to Blue 4 floor, but they are the player that the other teams need to be focusing on and keeping them shut down. Right then. Moving through to our next match. This is Up the Mags on red versus Purple Rain on blue. So Up the Mags on red versus Purple Rain on blue. This stage, Up the Mags have 2 match wins. Purple Rain have 1. So probably in favour of Up the Mags here against Purple Rain. But Purple Rain have definitely been. Obviously, their first match was against NUF, though, who are looking like they're clearly the strongest team in at least this stage in the tournament. Who said, though, these teams are going to keep on improving as they go. So the fact that you might be strong in the early stages does not mean you're going to be strong by the end. It does not mean you're going to win the final. It just means you started off well. But the learning curve for the other teams is going to keep accelerating, and they're going to catch up on you, and they're going to start to close that gap down as we move through this game on game. Teams are just getting on court now, getting themselves kitted and ready for this next game. So said, this is Up the Mags on red versus Purple Rain on blue. And probably Up the Mags with a slightly better chance here. But Purple Rain's win rate is slightly skewed thanks to that open game with NUF. But at this stage, only NUF and Up the Mags are undefeated. So there are only 2 undefeated teams. So it'll be interesting to see if Up the Mags can keep that run going here against Purple Rain. Okay, good tactical discussions going on between the teams. Players just getting themselves logged in and good to go. Coach Shamar just sorting out a couple of issues for the red team. Make sure that they're all ready to play. Here we go. Early lead here for red team, but only by a point. Blues pulling it back, 3 points apiece. Four points apiece now. Blues edging by a single point. 2 points now. Can they start to get a bit of space? Now Red's counter-attacking straight away. 7 points apiece as we pass the halfway mark. Good accurate play from both sides. Again, not a great deal of movement going on. At least the accuracy is good. Especially this player on the red player on the front edge. Really moved their position. 12-10, 13-10. Great shield there from red team. Blues allowing these red shields to stay in position way too long. 10 seconds here. Just 2 points in it. 3 points now. 4 points. That's out of range of the Blues, and that is a win to the red team in game 1. So that is a win for Up the Mags in game 1 against Purple Rain. That was really close, especially in those early stages there. Teams going point for point, really staying on each other, and it got to that final quarter, and we saw Up the Mags just sort of accelerate away there. The blue team just not able to capitalise, especially on that pretty much stationary player on the front edge there for the red team. Especially as he scored 11 of their points as well, and almost can sit constantly stationary throughout. Now, I said your 2 highest priorities: number 1, person scores the most points; number 2, person moves the least. In this case, that's the same person on red team, so we should be seeing Blues absolutely focus via them. Again, keep them locked out, stop them earning points, but if they're only going to move 9 metres, it shouldn't really be that hard to hit. 9 metres in 80 seconds, so 90 centimetres every 10 seconds. That's their entire movement rate there. It's not particularly amazing, but their accuracy was absolutely spot on. Got from that, accuracy was gone, point scoring was good, and obviously they allowed them. That did allow them to win the match. But I think it could be more that Blues just really not taking advantage of the fact that player was stationary, and they should have been targeting him. So again, in your early games, it's very easy and tempting to get fixated on the person directly in front of you and almost play it as if there's 3 one-on-one games across the pitch, whereas it isn't. It's a 3 versus 3. So you want to be diagonally cross-shotting across the pitch. It hits people's blind sides, they don't see the shots coming. It also means if you've got a player somewhere else on the pitch that's not moving, where you've got no easy shot on, you can drop those shots and then go back to facing off against your sort of like key opponent or your marked player on the opposing side. So players just getting themselves sorted and ready for game 2. Again, this is Up the Mags on red versus Purple Rain on blue. Up the Mags currently undefeated. Shield walls going up both sides. Both putting some points on the board. Blues need to get the win here to take this through to the 3rd round decider. Red already starting to ease ahead on points though. Really dangerous position here for the blue team. They need to focus on that front right player who's behind the shield. They need to wipe that shield out. They need to get them out of play, and then they need to keep them out of play. 6 points difference now. Good work there from Blues, starting to chip away at that red lead. Still a ways to go, but they are chipping it down. 30 seconds. Blues have got to up their firepower here by a lot if they're going to close this down. That red lead is really starting to extend now. 12-point lead. 10 seconds on the clock. This is going to be a red team win. So this is a 3rd win for Up the Mags. So that's a 3rd match win there for Up the Mags. Their match against NUF, I think, is going to be pretty decisive for the outcome of these pool stages. And that is coming up in 3 matches' time. So 3 matches' time till we see Up the Mags versus NUF. So I think that's going to be very decisive for the overall outcome here. Next up, we have Bruno in the middle on red versus Team Matty on blue. So Bruno in the middle on red versus Team Matty on blue. So we're starting to see a couple of really strong contender teams coming through here now. Still perfectly possible for other teams to catch them. Each team gets 5 matches. Even the top teams here have only got a couple of wins under the belts. I think Up the Mags have got 3 team wins under the belt now, so they're slightly ahead. But NUF and the others have got matches in hand, so could easily still close stage. Definitely looking as if they are the 2 strongest contender teams here. Be interesting to see if the other teams can really start to bring anything they've learned from these initial games and bring that to bear. Definitely the key one here is movement. So the only team really showing any sort of pitch movement, any manoeuvring in the space is NUF at this stage. The other team's very, very stationary in their positioning, and they're getting punished for that. So we need to make sure that they start to get their feet moving, start to move in space, start to use the whole area of the court. Otherwise, NUF, just through the fact that they are actually moving and the other teams aren't, are most probably going to end up winning this. That's the key difference between them. NUF's accuracy, just from the one player on the team, is absolutely spot on. Really, really good shot, really accurate. But the other team just aren't shutting him down. So he's got to be your target. You've got to shut him down, and you've got to start moving, because someone with that sort of accuracy, when you're just stood still, is just going to keep hitting you, and that's point after point after point being scored. And you're never ever going to win if you're just standing there and allowing yourself to be farmed for points. You've got to move. You've got to start evasion. Now that target that everyone's aiming at, that is actually linked to the head device they're wearing, and that means that any move to the head moves the target. So obviously side to side moves it, up and down moves it, but also turning moves it, flicking head up to the corner moves it. So you can just, like with head flick, shift, dodge, you can actually move that target a very considerable distance without necessarily having to run around the whole court like a maniac. So you can dodge, you can shift, you can move very intelligently, move the target a long way in doing so without necessarily sprinting around, and also do it in such a way that you're actually keeping your eye on your opponents. So one, you know where their shots are coming from, and 2, you can aim at them to fire back. Let's move ourselves back to the pitch side. So this is the opening game between Bruno in the middle on red and Team Matty on blue. Here we go. HADO fight. Nice early scores both sides. Red's just starting to edge ahead here. See, with all these games, you're very, very dangerous to allow the opposition start to get any kind of momentum going. Good work from Blues there, pulling that right back to just a single point. And they've pulled it even, and for a moment there, they've flipped the scoreline. Done it again, 8-7 now. Blues now in the lead. Maintaining that 1 point lead, just coming from the halfway mark. Still just holding that 1 point lead. Can they extend it at all? Try and get a little bit of breathing space between themselves and the red team here. They've passed the 4 point mark. It's really, really good. So that requires a full team wipe and a player in order to close the gap once it gets to that stage. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 6 point variance. Great play both teams. We're actually starting to see a good bit of movement around the pitch, aiming, functionality. So this is great acceleration in those final 10 seconds there from Team Matty. So Team Matty take game 1 against Bruno. Bruno yet to win a match. Team Matty with just the 1 win under their belt at this stage. If they can do that again, they're going to be running through to their second match point there for Team Matty. Bruno need to win this one to take it through to the third round decider and try and get their first match point. So Team Bruno there just got to move. Look at red player 1, 5 meters of movement. I mean, the teams are starting to move, but 5 meters. Really got to start. Got to maneuver in the space. So, turning around now for game 2. See if Blues can do that again, or if Red's going to fight back and instead take this round to that third game advantage, or third game decider. While they're doing that, make sure you take note of these numbers. So just here, 70716. Text 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. Depending how generous you feel. And remember, of course, if you don't text, it means you hate kids. So, yeah, go text. Right, let's get back to pitch side. Okay, teams prepped and ready. So again, most of that game was pretty close. Just accelerating away in the during that final quarter. Let's see if Reds can turn the narrative around. Teams staying very close to each other in this early stage. 4 points apiece here, 20 seconds played. 6-5, 6-all. Blue managed to keep Red in check all the way through. Similar story to what we had in game 1. Blues flipping and controlling that scoreline and then slowly starting to accelerate ahead. Reds have got to cut them off now. You cannot possibly allow them to get the momentum going like they did in the first game. And I just want to get back into this match. 5-point difference still. Blues really with their work cut out here. Great timing on that on a red shield there. 20 seconds remaining. 6 points. 8 points. 9. Blues just accelerating this out of reach of the red team here. I mean, they up their pace and speed really well in game 1. They've more than matched that in game 2. And it was a great little bit of fight back there in the last few seconds for Reds, but way too little, too late. So it's a 19 to 27 point win there for the blue team, Team Matty. And that's there for a second match win there for Team Matty. Coming up next, we have No Direction on Red versus Purple Rain on Blue. No Direction still looking for their first match win. Purple Rain with a single match win under their belt at this stage. So let's see if No Direction can get themselves off the start point and move forward to take control of. Take a match. Bruno in the middle, was just played, still looking for their first match win. So at the current stage, we have Up the Mags in first place with 3 match wins. NUF in second place with 2 match wins. In joint third place, we have Purple Rain and Team Matty with a single match win each. And in joint fifth place, we have Bruno in the middle and No Direction with 0 match wins. We would then normally separate them on points scored, but as we're only partway through the table, not a lot of benefit in working through that right now. So we're just going to go with their match win totals for the moment. So we have 7 games still to go. So seven matches still to go here. Next 2 teams currently on pitch, just get themselves kitted and ready. So this is No Direction on Red, Purple Rain on Blue. So No Direction looking for their first match win. Purple Rain looking to get themselves back in the tournament running by getting a second match win to add to their tally. Again, this is going to come down to movement. The teams that are starting to get the confidence, starting to get happy with moving in this space, are going to be the ones edging ahead now. There is some really good accuracy from some of these players from stationary firing positions, but the moment their opposition start moving, that accuracy level is going to start to drop. And once you start focusing, attacking those stationary players, which is obviously easy because they're not moving, you can start racking the points up in there for your team. So coach is just sorting out some elements of equipment. I believe our red team are potentially subbing a player on this game. It's just a tactical discussion going on to decide it. So this is no direction on red, purple rain on blue. More and more discussion about who's doing what, where, and with who. Right, move ourselves back to pitch side.
What does it look like?
Yep, so our missing player just taking the field now. So we're checking back over the history on these two teams. No direction. Lost, possibly not as heavily as they could have done. I mean, they put a decent fight against Team Matty in their opening match. Got quite heavily defeated by Up the Mags in their second match. So as I said, they're looking for their first match win. Purple Rain had NUF as their opener. We've already said they're looking like possibly the strongest team here. And then lost to one against No Direction and... Sorry, this is No Direction they're playing. So No Direction on red, Purple Rain on blue. I'd say possibly the odds in blue's favour here. Let's see how we go. Single point on the board for blues after the first 10 seconds. Red's responding on the board as well now. 2 points apiece. Good bit of evasion actually coming in from the blue team on this front corner. Little bit of step and movement from Reds, not a huge amount, but two teams staying pretty close to each other still. Just 1 point separating them at the halfway mark. Maintain that single point difference. Teams just going point for point. Reds to pull it even and flip the scorelines. Now 9-8 to Reds. Can they get a little bit of momentum, open up some space between themselves and the blue team? 2 points in it now. 3 points, back to 2. Constantly looking to get at least a 4 point lead. It's the only point we can start to feel any safety. 4 point lead now for Reds. 5 point lead, 5 seconds on the clock. This is going to look like a red team win. 2, 1, 0, 17-9. Really strong win for Red. That finish there, coming through from after the halfway into that final third of the match. Very, very strong from them. Really, really good play. So that's a great result there for No Direction in game one. Remember, they are looking for their first match win of the tournament here. And if they can carry on like that into game two, they may all get it. Again, not a huge amount of movement from either team there, but we're starting to see a bit of actual sort of like upper body sort of like rock and sway to shift the target around. You don't have to sprint around the whole space, you just need to move that target point, so some intelligent movement of the upper body and the head can actually achieve a lot of that for you. Red team with a decent amount of shots fired. Overall though, the fire rates of both teams are fairly low. Still, we're not seeing many teams getting into those sort of like, you know, mid-50s or low 60s. We had quite a few of those yesterday up at HADO Midlothian tournament in Edinburgh. So it'd be nice to see if we can start to see some of that coming through. But part of that is going to be those score lines coming down. So obviously, when you're knocked out, you can't shoot. And if you're spending a large portion of the game knocked out because your opposition is scoring a lot of points, you're not going to be able to shoot. So here we go. Teams just getting themselves ready now for game 2. Can red team, no direction, do this again and earn themselves their first match point for the tournament? Coach Shamai just checking teams are good to go. Here we go. Game on. First points on the board there for Reds. Blues on the board as well. No, he cannot allow Reds to start getting the momentum that they did in game 1. It's not looking good for Reds. Took a lot longer than this for Blue to start gaining momentum in the first game. They've got to reel them in really early on here. Get that gap closed. 2-point difference here. Reds extending into a 3-point difference. Blues have got to absolutely dig really deep here now. Halfway mark. Got to reel that red team in. Got that 4-point lead. So that's the real key point. That's where you can start to breathe a little bit easier. The other team's got to do a full team wipeout and a player in order to close that lead down entirely. But Blues doing really well here. They've got it back down to a single point. Reds extending that lead again now. Blues need to really work. 10 seconds now. 6-point difference. It's looking like a red team game and match win. 3, 2, 1. And that is game 2. Our red team, no direction, and their first match win of the tournament. So that leaves now just Bruno in the middle looking for their first match win. Every other team has logged a win so far. Up next then, Up the Mags versus NUF are two currently undefeated teams. So this is definitely a key one to show how these pool stages are going to pan out. So Up the Mags versus on red versus NUF on blue. So these are our two currently undefeated teams. Up the Mags only have one more matchup after this. This is their match 4. NUF, this is their match 3. So NUF have a match in hand over Up the Mags still. So Up the Mags really need to get a win here, if at all possible. Following up after this, we have Bruno in the middle versus No Direction, Up the Mags versus Team Matty, Bruno in the middle versus NUF, Team Matty versus Purple Rain, and then No Direction versus NUF. But although we've got some good games coming up there, especially with the way these teams are now starting to evolve, I think this is really our key game here. Up the Mags versus NUF. They're by far and away our two strongest teams so far, and both currently undefeated. So this is going to very much control the outcome of the pool stages here, and give us control where we go. So once we've run this full pool stage, we're going to have our two top teams, and they're going to play off against each other. Now, the way things are going, it could be what we're about to see here. It could be Up the Mags versus NUF. It's definitely trending that way in the results we're seeing. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed at this stage. There's a lot that can still go through. And there's more than enough matches still to play for that situation to flip and another contender to come through to take either this first or second place point in the games. But from what we're seeing so far, this is looking reasonably probable for a finale as well. So we can take this as a bit of a test run for where that finale may go. Obviously, both teams win more matches to play after this, though, and every game they're playing in every match is adding to their experience, adding to their ability. And so, just because one team comes out ahead in this first practice round, effectively this pool stage match doesn't mean if these end up being our two teams in the finals that this is exactly how it's going to play out. So, NUF players just get themselves prepped and ready to go. It's like the last of the Mags players is set and good. So what we've seen in previous games, NUF, they've got a very strong player, a reasonably strong player, and a very, very weak player across their group. So fundamentally, that weak player can be not quite ignored, but you don't have to pay quite as much attention to them. So we're looking for a real heavy focus on this strong player here from Up the Mags if they want a chance of winning this game. Great shield wall there from Up the Mags, single 1 point apiece. Good early scores from both sides. Up the Mags just edging ahead in the early seconds there. Up the Mags, NUF of Corton, 3 points apiece. Up the Mags edging ahead by a point again, maintaining that points lead. NUF really going to have to work here. 6 points apiece. Great play from both sides. Just past the halfway mark, 8 points apiece. Really, really closely matched teams here. NUF have definitely got the movement, but I'd say Mags have got the definitely the accuracy advantage between the two. NUF now starting to accelerate. 20 seconds left on the clock, a 7 point lead. This may already be out of range of Up the Mags. That was such a good flurry of point scoring there from NUF. Really, really put the pressure on to Up the Mags. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. First game goes to NUF. So again, good play there. Up the Mags making them really, really have to work for that one. Teams look very, very even through the first about half of the match, and then NUF really accelerated away there, put in pressure. And I think it was just the lack of movement on the Up the Mags team. They've got the accuracy, they've got the shield timing, they've got all these elements nicely down, but they're just not moving. When you've got players with 10 metre movement there on the red team, that's not good. Not at this stage. We need to start seeing more motion coming through. Otherwise, with the accuracy improving across the board for all the players, those sedentary players, those stationary players, they're going to start getting really severely farmed for points. Everyone's now got their eye in. They're shooting accurately, and they need to be working on that more. So our teams get themselves turned around and ready again. Thank you once again from us to our partners and sponsors in all of this, Virgin Media 02 and Ericsson, for providing all the connectivity for us to broadcast these matches to you as we're bouncing around the country, and obviously for our partnership with Children in Need, who you should send money to. Use these text numbers here, 70716, and text a relevant amount of word and amount of money to Pudsey so they can do good things with it. Don't forget to do that, okay? It's important. And don't forget to click subscribe. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed, shame on you. Click subscribe. Right, here we go. Back to pitch side. So that first half of that first game, really, really tight and even between the two teams. And then NUF in the second half, massively upping the pace and really, really punishing up the Mags team for just not moving at all. They've got to get that movement in there. Got to get that evasion work happening. Yep. So plenty of opportunity though for Up the Mags to pull this back. We saw that what really wasn't much between them during the first half at all, and if they can prevent that sort of breakaway from NUF in the second half, or preferably get some breakaway momentum of their own, this could very, very easily flip to a third game decider. Game on. Great early shield position from both teams there. Very aggressive shield work from NUF. First points on the board for both teams. NUF with a slight points lead. Mags need to close that down really early on. single point lead now. That's it. Mags pulled it back even. NUF, great shield positioning on that front line there. Really shutting down options for the Mags. They've got to get rid of those shields good and fast. 3 point lead here for NUF again. Mags need to get that lead erased, get this pull back to even, preferably flip that scoreline if they can. NUF starting to accelerate that scoreline again, just like they did at this sort of stage in game 1. Mags with a massive amount of work to do here. 20 seconds now. Yeah, NUF not moving a huge amount, but moving more than enough now to start to get around the accuracy that Mags have been relying on so far. And Mags just not upping their movement enough to get around this barrage of shots from NUF. Great play from both teams, but NUF stepping their gameplay up again in that second game and really pushing the match out of Mags' reach. So that is a win for NUF over Mags, as Mags suffering their first loss of the pool stages. So coming up next we have Bruno in the middle on red versus No Direction on blue. Bruno looking for their first match win here. No Direction looking to try and sort of maintain their what's currently sort of like mid-table standing. So this is Bruno in the middle, said really looking at that first match win. No Direction haven't been shown to be a particularly strong team here, so Bruno definitely in with a decent chance of getting that first match win logged and get themselves properly onto the points table. The team's just moving out now onto courtside. So all of this that we're doing now is going to be culminating in a final televised show on BBC Three, which is going out on the 10th of November. That's both on BBC Three, iPlayer, and also on TikTok. And that's going to involve ourselves with the finals of the National HADO tournament for Children in Need, as well as the Just Dance tournament and the Sim-Rigs finals as well. There's going to be a whole load of different elements going on through the show. It's going to be something really, really good to watch. Please tune in and watch, and obviously send somebody's buddy while you're doing it. But it should be really, really enjoyable things to get involved in. This is the first time that Children in Need have really involved gaming in this way in the show. It's a really, really positive thing with the communities that we brought this to, and the groups have got helped to get involved. And it shows that obviously a lot of people have got this idea that esports and gaming is very sedentary, that it's got an isolating element to it, which isn't necessarily true, but it's definitely part of the perceptions of it. And what we're hoping to show with these different events, these different elements, is just how physical and active electronic and technological sports can be, how engaging they can be, how good for teamwork, communications, team play, all these things, and just how much good they can bring to different communities. If HADO is something you want to get involved with, check out any of the UK HADO socials, drop us a message anywhere, let us know where you are located. We can point you in the direction of your nearest HADO centre to get involved with the sport, or if you're interested in potentially becoming a HADO centre, also drop us a message. Very happy to talk to you. We'll talk you through everything you need to get involved with the sport. But let's go back to the games. Here we go, game on. So this is Bruno in the middle on red, No Direction on blue. Bruno desperately looking for their first match win here. Question is, are No Direction going to let them get it? Early points on the board for No Direction. Bruno still needs to get to score. Bruno's on the scoreboard, pulled it back level. Nice play. Starting to get a bit of motion there from Bruno, but No Direction racking the points in again. Nice done, Bruno pulled it back. No Direction immediately opened that 2-point lead again. Bruno really needs to try and flip this scoreline.
Come on, Adam!
Constantly being the chasing position on the score is not great. But every time you catch your opponents, you've taken a fair chunk of damage to your life markers in the process, and they can easily start to rack the points in and move away again. 10 points apiece here. Can Bruno flip this scoreline? 11 points apiece. Bruno down 2 points now. They need to get those points in. They've got to flip the scoreline. 20 seconds. No Direction still holding the lead here. 2 points in it now. Relying very, very heavily on that shield. Bad, they're clumping together. Shifting together as a block like that is very, very dangerous. Your opponents can just crossfire into a single location and take your whole team out of play in the process. But they managed to flip the scoreline 17-17, and we're going to overtime. So 10 seconds to get your breath back. Then it is the first knockout on any player. So first knockout scored on any player takes the whole match, takes the whole game. Heavy reliance on that shield there. That's it, red team 18-17. So that is a game win for Bruno in the middle. They've got to do that once more in order to get their first match victory. Great work though from Bruno in the middle. So it's not their first game win, but it is. It's going to put them nicely on track to try and get their first match win. So obviously, the fact it went to overtime means these two teams are very, very closely matched. See if No Direction can turn this around and try and push towards a third game, a game 3 decider. So our team's just getting themselves prepped and ready to go in. So really, really nice gameplay there. Seesawing around, Blues constantly, just keeping the edge, and that fantastic quick flip, score flip there from Reds, holding out right to the last moment for that overtime, and then getting that great shot in overtime. I think that shield they still had left in play, things like shields and so on, they continued through after the overtime. Really helped the red team get a great early barrage going there, and win that game. So a little bit of luck on their side maybe, but played out at the right time for them and worked really nicely. Here we go, game 2. Can Reds do this again? Points on the board for both teams. 10 seconds played. Slight lead for Blues. Blues starting to extend that lead now, getting a bit of momentum going. Reds have got to pull this back quickly. Really significant lead starting up for the blue team here. Reds cannot allow this to continue. That is way, way too big a lead here. 6 points. Reds have got to work. They've got to crash that lead back down. Clumping together like that is just suicidal. It means the Blues can just hammer all of their shots into a single location, and they're going to hit teammate after teammate on the Reds. They've got to spread themselves out across the field. They were doing so well in that first game, and basically they weren't clumped together like this in game 1. They were spread out across the pitch, and this game 2 they're just clumping together again and again and again, and Blues are farming them for points because of it. It's a good fight back starting from Reds, but it is too little too late. Those big instances there through the game of just coming together as a single clump just allowed Blues to crossfire into them and rack the points up like crazy. So we're going to a third game decider now. So said, really good play from Blues there. The Reds handled the opportunities, but they capitalised on them really well. Just because the other team gives you an opportunity doesn't mean you realise it and do something with it. But Reds there, they made themselves vulnerable, and Blues took advantage of it. They need to go back to that gameplay from game 1, really spread out across the pitch and resist that urge to move together. Here we go then, getting ready now for our third game decider. Can our red team learn from their mistakes in that second game? keep themselves spread across the pitch and take this as their first match win. Here we go, game on. Can Reds get their first match win? Three-point lead to Blues here. Reds much better now on their positioning, well spread out across the pitch, denying those real rapid point score opportunities for the Blue team. Good move across the front line from Reds there. 3-point lead still in place for Blues though. Reds got to really start hammering those points home. 30 seconds. Reds clumping together again. You were getting so close, boys. Don't do it. 2 points difference. 20 seconds. Go on, Reds. 15 seconds to score yourselves 2 points. 10 seconds to score yourself 2 points. That's all it needs at this stage. 80 in all. 5 seconds. Just 1 point, Red team. One more point, Reds. 20-20. We're going to overtime again. So, overtime in the third round decider. Can Reds pull it off again? Can they get another overtime win? Gotta shoot, Reds, gotta shoot. And they did it! 21-20, a second overtime win. And that is the first match win for Bruno in the middle. So that's all teams with at least one match win under their belts there. Great play from them. We have 4 more matches to go in the pool stages here. So 4 matches remaining of the pool stages. Next up, we've got Up the Mags on red versus Team Matty on blue. This is the last of the pool stage matches for Up the Mags.
Up the Mags, you're on the red. You're on the blue.
Yeah. Teams absolutely buzzing as came off the field. That was a really good match. Great to see. Said all that went wrong in that second game, in that sequence for Team Bruno there on the Reds was that constant clumping together behind the shield that allowed the other team to just hammer shots into them in the crossfire and take all 3 out simultaneously. And it allowed them to really jump the points up because of that. But obviously learned from that in that third game, spread out much more evenly across the pitch, made themselves far harder to engage. Actually got some real nice strafing front runs as well coming through from their players, and managed to get that final match win. So really great play from them. Hopefully they're going to learn from that again as they move forward into their remaining sets of matches in this sequence. So as I said, we now have there are 4 matches left to go in the pool stages here. So next up is Up the Mags versus Team Matty. Then Bruno coming back on the pitch. This time facing it off against NUF, who we're seeing definitely our strongest contender at the moment. So Bruno going to severely have the work cut out from there. Then Team Matty again versus Purple Rain. And then No Direction versus NUF to close out the round robin pool stages here. We'll then have our 2 top teams out the pool, which will go head to head for our final to give us our first ever NUCastle champions, and they will then move on to take the AI challenge and see if they can, unlike their pretty much everyone's gone before them, manage to finally unseat Barnsley, who've held on to their show position since tournament 1. But for now, let's get back to the action in hand. Up the Mags on red versus Team Matty on blue. Okay, teams are ready. Here we go. Great early play from both sides. Nothing really between them here. Blue's just edging a single point lead. Red's keeping them fairly under control all the way through. Red's edging ahead now. Blue's starting to fight back, but Red's maintaining that that lead. Got up to a 5-point lead, a 6-point lead. Great shield wall, really locking out Blue's counter-attack options. So close for the first half, and Red's absolutely dominating the second half of the match, hammering the points in here. So really strong second half there for Up the Mags. Two, one. It was a great, again, really good fight back there in the closing quarter for Team Matty, but up the Mags, basically from that halfway mark forward, just kicking the acceleration in and just pushing that match totally out of the reach of Team Matty. It's a great play from them. So teams just sorting kit out and getting ready to cycle around for game 2. So really nice play coming through there. You said first half looked really close. Blues keeping the red team really closely in check. And then hit the halfway mark, and the Reds just absolutely accelerated out away from them, up the pressure, and just kept hammering those points in. Really good use of shields to get the momentum going initially, and then towards in the last quarter of the game, set another set of shields coming in to really deny the opportunity for a counter-offensive and fighting back at the end of the match there. So really good tactics from the Mags team there, using their shields to control the flow of the game, control the point scoring opportunities for the other team, and guarantee themselves the win. Opening points on the board for blue team. Red's responding back, now flipping it to a 2-point lead for red. Mags coming in with the pressure straight off the bat here. Team Matty's answering back really well, pulling it back to 6 points apiece. 7-6 now to Mags, 7-all. Great work from Team Matty. Now we saw again this fairly even for the first half of the match, and then Mags putting this huge acceleration in from the halfway mark. Let's see if Team Matty can try and match that energy and prevent Mags from doing the same again. Just a single point in it now, 30 seconds left to play. Mags racking some points in now, trying to open a bit of a lead. Matty pulling them straight back. 20 seconds remaining now. Matty responding here pretty much point for point each time, keeping Mags within reaching distance. 10 seconds. Matty needs 2 points to take this game. 3 seconds. 2, 1. That was so close. That was a much tighter game. Great flurry there from red player 1 in the last few seconds. Three knockouts back to back there. And that put the game out of reach for Team Matty, but much closer game. Really well played. And that is the final game for Up the Mags. So that is 4 match wins for them. Obviously the other main contender, NUF, currently with 3 match wins, but 2 matches still in hand. So next up we have Bruno in the middle versus NUF on blue. So Bruno in the middle have just recorded their first match win in their previous outing. So hopefully we'll see how that works out for them. If they can keep that general sort of energy going. Saw their biggest issue was that clumping together behind shields, make it easy for the other team to crossfire into them. And that's definitely something that we know the NUF team will take advantage of in the way we've seen them play so far. So Bruno Middle cannot afford to do that sort of clumping in behind a single shielding point and hoping that that's going to be enough to protect them. And then there's that crossfire coming in from all sides. They've got to stay spread out. We've seen them play. We know they've got to stay spread out across the pitch if they want a chance to really split that fire up and give themselves some opportunity in this game. And they've got to shut down that top scoring player on the NUF team. They're just way too much of a threat. Fundamentally, if they did nothing other than all three of them just fire on that player and try and keep them locked out of the game, that's going to give them at this stage probably actually their best chance of winning. So teams are on court now, just get themselves kitted up and ready to go. So we now have, this is we have 3 matches remaining. So this one, Bruno in the middle of it on red versus NUF on blue, followed by Team Matty on red versus Purple Rain on blue, and then No Direction on red and NUF on blue to finish us off. Up the Mags currently at the top of the table there with 4 match wins, but all games played. NUF currently with 3 match wins, but 2 matches still to play. So NUF still in position for a clean sweep across all 5 of their matches. No one has yet managed to stop them. Bruno in the middle and No Direction still to have their attempts. No Direction and Bruno in the middle, however, are both only with single match wins. They haven't been performing particularly strongly in their early games. We said teams are evolving here. They're gaining a lot of experience game on game. So just because the team performed potentially a slightly lower level in the earlier games in the sequence doesn't mean they're still going to be at that level when we get to these later pool stages. There's every chance that they'll have learned from what they're doing there, that they'll have helped to sort of pick that up and really start to move ahead now with better movement, better shielding, better position, more accuracy. That's going to make these strong teams that were stronger earlier on not be as much of a threat to them. Not saying, of course, the NUF guys are going to have not learned a few things themselves over the course of it. But obviously, if you've got a bit of an edge to start with for whatever reason, you're not being pushed as much, so you're not learning as much game on game, and therefore that knowledge gap is still reducing on you, even though your skill is improving. The other team are catching you at a faster rate than you're improving. So, still got to say though, probably in odds are NUF, but I'd love to see Bruno upset things here a little. Let's see what we can do. Okay, team's just getting their equipment sorted out.
No, stop it.
Okay. Real big tactical discussion going on there from Team Bruno. See if they've got a plan. If they've got a plan that's going to put a dent in NUF's ability to win this game. So generally seems really aggressive play from NUF. Very solid forward shield positioning. Sort of really controlling and locking down options for the opposing teams, pushing them right back. Almost all the way back to their back walls, and in doing so limiting their dodging opportunities as well. Right, let's see what Bruno was planning. Bruno team very stationary and close together. Desperately trying to get shields up, but You've got to move and spread out first. Points racking up on the board for NUF here. Bruno absolutely clumping together. The one thing they must not do, and NUF punishing them for it, hammering those points home. 14-point lead here, 30 seconds on the clock still. Bruno's starting to move, starting to get a few more shots out of place, some dodging starting to come through now. All the stuff we should have been seeing right from the get-go. We're on that very, very stationary, clumped together start point they went for. Whatever that tactic was they were trying, it most certainly did not work for them here. 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1. That was a dominating win from NUF here in game 1. Yeah. I think we can safely say, whatever the tactic was that Bruno tried, it did not work. That was not their gameplay, not their play style there. They need to really, really change that up. They've got to spread out and move. They cannot afford that sort of stationary positioning at the start. They got put straight up the back foot by NUF and never really allowed into that game. So we saw there, that was, you know, all the things we said that Bruno mustn't do. They did them. They stood still, they clumped together, they got fixated on shields, and NUF just tore them apart for it. You know, any one of those things that they'd stopped doing would have reduced that scoreline, reduced the opportunities for NUF to land those hits. So obviously, if you're spread out across the game field, then your opponents have to engage you individually, so there's much fewer shots coming at you. Move together, all three of the opponents are going to fire at a simple point. You've got this huge crossfire coming in. The moment when your teammates gets taken out, any range shots then coming to you as well. So you're catching all that crossfire that's coming on your teammates. You know, you're dealing with 3 times as many shots coming in your position. It's a terrible, terrible position to be in. If you're doing it whilst stationary, whilst not even firing back because you're fixated on trying to raise a shield, yeah, you're just going to be farmed by the opposition, and there is no way around that scenario. You have got to try to move. You've got to spread out. You've got to move. You've got to keep those shots firing. And fundamentally, if you're down on points, shields are meaningless. Shields do not score points. They just restrict your opponent's ability to score. Right, here we go. Game 2. Good shields from red team there. Slowed down the initial blue assault. The blues now with 3 points on the board. Red's unable to capitalise on those early shields to get any points of their own in. First points on the board for red. NUF opening up a commanding lead here. Bruno with a huge job to do to close that down. Halfway mark. 10-point lead to NUF. To Bruno, early shields on the back wall. Can they do anything with them though? $20 seconds remaining. $10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and another controlling win there from NUF. Much better tactically from Bruno. Just needed more motion, more evasion. And that is the final match of this tournament for Bruno in the middle. So they're ending this with 1 match win. Team Matty versus Purple Rain up next, followed by No Direction versus NUF. So So 2 more matches to go to get us to the end of this pool sequence. So Team Matty red versus Purple Rain on blue. Team Matty currently with 2 match wins, Purple Rain with 1. So Purple Rain looking to get themselves a second match win in and pull themselves level. Team Matty, if they can get this this next one in though, will pull themselves up into 3rd place on the table. So both of these teams have been definitely seen improvement in both these teams as we've worked through. So it should be quite an interesting match to see what they've learned so far. Obviously, this is the final match of the tournament for both teams. So have some really nice gameplay here. Neither of these have been massively dominating in their games, not like Mags and NUF have been. So this could very easily go either way. And both teams have been we've seen a good evolution in gameplay, tactics and ideas as we've worked our way through the sequence of games. So really difficult to tell how this one's going to go, which is quite nice. If you've got a team where you've got matches where you're seeing that there's a really clear advantage to one side or the other, they're cool matches to watch, but you kind of get what you expected. But these sorts of games where we've got these teams that are growing at reasonably even rates, they're both playing reasonably well. This should be some nice close gameplay. See where we go with it. So our teams are on court now, just get themselves kitted and ready. As I said, this is our penultimate match. Here we go. So once again, it's Team Matty on red versus Purple Rain on blue. Okay, so that's our players just getting themselves ready. Got one blue player still to sort his tracking out. Coach Shamai just stepping in to sort the issue for him. Right, it's everything in position now. Here we go. Game on. Great opening from the red team there. Really commanding volley. Oh, looks like it might have a equipment issue. Blue team. Nothing deemed worth resetting the match for though. So this is Team Matty on red, Purple Rain on blue. Really controlling lead from Team Matty here. 10-point lead at the halfway mark. Purple Rain starting to lock some points in. Still 10-point difference to close though. Great shield in the centre there, really locking down options for Purple Rain. So shields, you can shoot them, you can counter shield, so you can place a shield in front of an enemy shield to make it useless to them, or because they're two-dimensional, you can move forwards, which some of the players are starting to do now, and angle shots behind them. But great overall gameplay here from Team Matty. Really dominating this first game, and a great win to Team Matty in game 1. Really good shooting across the board there. No standout or a particularly weak player there, which is really good to see. You want to see that sort of even balance across the whole team. Blue players just getting their equipment sorted, make sure they're good to go for the second round. Yeah, some really nice play there. I said, what what I was saying there about the red team, you want that nice even spread, because obviously if you've got a real standout player that's earning all your points, then that's the player the other team should be targeting to knock them down. Obviously if they're out of play, well, the rest of the team weren't doing very much really, so once that player's out of play, you're in a lot of trouble. But if you've got, like we saw there from the red team, all players scoring good level of points, all players basically conceding a similar level of points, all with positive ratios there between points scored and points conceded. There's no one obviously to target. That makes it really different tactically for a team, because you don't have a weak link basically, or in a weak player, and you don't have this really strong player who's basically carrying the rest of the team either. The whole team is a threat. So really nice to see that from Team Matty. Here we go. Let's make it into game 2. Early lead in for Team Matty again. Purple Rain fighting back now, trying to keep Team Matty in catching distance. Matty still maintaining that lead though. Team Matty really starting to extend that lead again. Blue's fighting back though. Coming up on the halfway mark. This is still perfectly achievable for the blue team. Just got to dig deep and really up those rates of fire. Don't wait and pause for your shot. Don't worry about shields. Just keep on shooting. Don't try and get that perfect shot. It's not going to happen. Just keep those shots racking out. Good shield from the Matty team. Shields there from the Matty team. Really locking down the counter-attack options from Purple Rain. 7 points. 10 seconds. It's going to be another strong win for Team Matty here. 24-12. So that's final game. That is final games there for both Team Matty and Purple Rain. Places Team Matty on 3 match wins. Placed them solidly in 3rd place. No matter what happens in this final game, they can't lose that positioning. So our final game of the pool stage is now coming up. No Direction on red versus NUF on blue. So No Direction red versus NUF on blue to finish us off. Currently NUF and Up the Mags are tied, both on 4 match wins. So on obviously on what we've seen so far, we kind of expect this to be an NUF win, taking them to 5 match points. It's pretty clear. This is going to be a Mags NUF final that we're going to have as the teams come together here. But it's been really nice gameplay all round from everyone though. The moment now, our last game of the pool stages. No Direction on red, NUF on blue. No Direction currently only with 1 match win under the belt, so they're tied with Bruno in the middle and Purple Rain, or with a single match win under the belts. Winning this will step them ahead of those other 2 teams and guarantee themselves 4th place overall. Otherwise, it's down to points scored to separate those teams. And No Direction currently have 128 points there to name. Bruno in the middle at the top of this sort of second half of the table with 159 points. So No Direction to unseat them and take the 4th place. Either need to beat NUF or across the 2 games they're about to play. Now they're going to need to earn 31 points. So they're going to have to get 32 points. In fact, 32 points in order to take Bruno's 4th place away from them. So beat NUF or lose but score 32 points in the process to take 4th place. See if they can do it. I'll say probability from what we're seeing with these 2 teams. I'm going to say it's most probably going to be an NUF win. Obviously, it'd be great if they could get a bit of upset in here and take a game off NUF. But if not, across the games they play, they need to score 32 points in order to take 4th place. Otherwise, they're going to be back down in 5th or maybe 6th place, depending on what their final points total is. So, teams taking the pitch now for the final match of the pool stages. Okay, so we have the last players to get their gear sorted and tracking set in. Here we go, guys. Final match of the pool stages. Can we get an upset? Can NUF have a match taken off them? Good opening volley from Red. Nice aggression. First points on the board for the Red team. NUF fighting back straight away though. Flipping that scoreline. Good shield there from Red. NUF slowly starting to rack the points in though. NUF open up now to a 7-point lead. No Direction got to start pushing back here. Just need a lot more fire. They're getting upset. They're getting caught up with shields again. You'd hope by this point in the matchup they'd be past the shields fixation. And it's about shooting. They've got to get those shots out. Keep on firing. Put the other team under pressure. While you're standing around waiting for that perfect shot or trying to get it aimed up, the person you're waiting on is not having shots fired at them. They're not under pressure, and therefore they're not being put off their own firing lines. Really, really dominating now from NUF. Just coming to the final 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Very, very strong finish there for NUF. Blue player 4 absolutely on fire. 21 knockouts. Yeah, if the Reds do nothing in this next game other than just constantly focus their fire on blue player 4, that's what they've got to do here. Yeah, target blue player 4, take him out of the picture. The other two players only scored 10 points between them. Against 10 points from the red team there. They've got to shut blue player 4 down. Everything they've got. Well, so that was quite brutal. Really, really nice. That first point off the board from No Direction there, it looked really good. Shields went in, it was nice, it looked like they were going to push, and then just NUF just crushed straight through that sort of opening move from them, and the points just started racking in as it went through. Lots of movement around the pitch from the NUF team, lots of good shots, just no real response there from the Reds. Way too stationary, fixation on shields, waiting for that fire moment rather than just keeping the shots racking out to keep pressure on the other team. They really need to have got past that by this stage of the tournament. This is their 5th match. They've had the training point. They've had more than enough experience now to realise that fixation on shields, that lack of movement, it's just going to get them hammered every single time. And we've got to start seeing a lot more movement and use of the space if they want to stand a chance against any team, especially a team like NUF. So here we go, game 2 of what is most probably most probably now the end of this match. Got to say, I'd love No Direction to be able to take a game off NUF. But on player strength currently, NUF have got a very, very significant edge here. which means we'll be moving off this onto a NUF Mags final. Again, nice points on the board there, straight off the bat from no direction. Shield, 2 reliant on a shield wall. Shields went down, and NUF racked 3 points in straight away. Clumping together, allowing the NUF crossfire to come in and just farm them for points. Got to spread out across the pitch. Got to get mobile. NUF players just being allowed to run rampant across the game field here at the moment. 13-point lead. Heavy shield in the centre, just being allowed to stay. Reds just barely moving their feet. They're just sitting ducks for NUF at this stage. NUF clearly got their eye on far too much. If you're stationary like that, there is no hope of a team that's performing the way that NUF are currently that they're going to miss. 10 seconds. And that was a dominating finish from NUF. So NUF finished their run undefeated, winning all 5 of their matches. So that is a NUF 5 matches in first place, Up the Mags 4 matches in second place. So it'll be an Up the Mags NUF final. Third place we have Team Matty with 3 points. We then have Bruno in the middle with a 1 match win but 159 points scored, followed by No Direction and then Purple Rain. So really good play from teams here. Some great game matchups there. Some really nice watching of the evolution of gameplay. Lovely watching the Team Matty work forwards. But we're going to be moving now to our final, which is NUF versus Mags. So NUF versus Mags final for the title of NUCastle champions and the opportunity to take the final AI challenge and try and see if they can seize Barnsley's place in the BBC show on November 10th away from them. For those who are going to be joining us on November 10th, the show goes there at 7 p.m. There will be more information coming out about it very soon, basically who's involved, what's happening in it. But there is currently an embargo on that for about the next 16 minutes. So as soon as that's gone, we'll be able to tell you a whole lot more. But there is an embargo till 4 o'clock, which we're having to abide by. But we'll be able to give you a lot more information once that time point finishes. But for now, we're getting ready for the final, which is Mags versus NUF. So the team's just having a slight breather before we get them back on pitch. But fundamentally, I don't think Mags want NUF to have too much of a rest. Much more of an advantage to get NUF straight back on the pitch as quick as they can. Okay, and we are pretty much ready to go for the final. So Up the Mags just taking the pitch now. Up the Mags on red. NUF will be joining us on blue. So NUF players just now starting to step in to get them on pitch. So this is our final matchup. Again, best of 3 like all the others, but the winning team here will become our NUCastle champions, and they'll be the ones then running on to take that AI challenge. So currently, it is Cardiff Youth and Barnsley College who are going to be going through to the show, unless the team here in NUCastle can achieve a higher ranking than one, if not both of those teams. If they do so, obviously Cardiff Youth are basically safe. Because you can't get knocked from first to third by a single team. They can only get worse. They can get knocked from first to second, which is still going to put them through to the BBC show on the 10th. But so the risk team here is Barnsley. Barnsley set the bar really, really high for the other teams to chase on the score in the opening tournament of this sequence. So since tournament 1, they've been holding in there, holding onto that position to get onto the final show. And this is tournament 8. So you're going to see, are they still going to cling on to that position and make it all the way through, or are the NUCastle team going to, at the last possible moment, deny them that position and be going through in their stead? So it should be a really interesting outcome here. Now, obviously, these teams have met already in the pool stages. We know there that NUF defeated Mags. It was, I mean, game 1 was relatively close. Game 2 significantly less so. And the issue here that we saw in that game in the bits was Mags just not mobile enough around the pitch. And if they're going to try to take this final, they're going to try and defeat NUF. And take the title and take this opening title from them as first NUCastle champions, then they've got to start moving. Especially the player in white and blue on the left side of the pitch as we're looking at it. Very, very accurate, earning an awful lot of their team's points, but his feet are basically glued to the ground, and NUF were definitely starting to punish him for that during the match they had against them earlier in the pool stages. Because he's got a nice bit of body sway going on, which does make him a little bit harder to hit, but not really enough. And if you want to start and move ahead, he is definitely earning the points for his team. NUF are aware of that, so they are focusing on him. And unless he starts moving around the pitch a bit more, it's going to become very, very hard for his team to win. Here we go, game 1. But only a single point on the board here, 10 seconds in. Red team clumping together. Mags have got to separate out. Absolutely. I mean, also there's a single block here. They're literally handing points to NUF. They have got to spread out across the pitch. Still only a single point on the board for Mags. Almost no motion on this left-hand edge. And at least they start to spread out now, making it meaning that NUF at least got to split the shots. Whatever you do, you must not clump together. Not unless you've got some really, really heavy-duty shield walls. If all 3 of them are dropping shields and then layering up again, after all they have 3 shields each, they could just pull all 9 out as a single big shield wall, then okay, stay behind them and earn some points while you're there, but without that, it's just a quick way to hand the game to the opposing team. 5 seconds left. Dominating win here from NUF. Said, got to hand it to NUF. Their actually teamwork is really good, but Mags absolutely handed that to them on a plate by clumping together and just not moving. That was a real tactical error there from Mags. One you'd hope by this sort of stage we weren't seeing. They've watched it happen enough to other teams. They've had it happen to themselves already. They need to stop doing that. They've got to spread out. The problem is when you put on the back foot, when your back's against the wall, it's instinctive to move together for protection, and it just doesn't work that way. In HADO, you move together, you all get hit, and it's a huge error in gameplay. So let's see if they can learn from that. They've got to spread out. You know, Mags have got the accuracy. Out of all the opposing teams here to NUF, Mags have got the accuracy, they've got the firepower, they've got the use of shields, they've got the tactics, they've got the timing, they've got this, they've just... What's it? Got to move. Okay, they moved there, but they moved together. Don't do that. Stay spread out across the pitch, move yourself around through the areas, make yourself harder to hit, force the opponents to have to engage you individually, not as a group, and stay mobile. And if at all possible, remember you have knees and they bend, so you can duck. And ducking under these shots is actually a way easier way to dodge them than moving left and right, especially in these early stages of gameplay and experience. Here we go, game 2. Can Mags get it together in this game? Oh, got a technical error there at a player that wasn't registered into game. Coach Schmeier just resetting. So, and one of the players there, Device hadn't logged his position properly in game. So when the match started, he was out of situ. So the way that resets and restarts work in HADO is, if it's your fault, you haven't put a piece of equipment on properly, you've dropped it, etc. Tough. That's on you. If it's because something hasn't operated correctly, in this case, the tracking hadn't locked in correctly at the start of the game, and the player hadn't realised that to make us aware of it, then we get a reset, just as we've done here. First point on board from blue. Good shields from red. See if they can fight that instinct to separate, to clump together. Keep separate, keep shooting, and actually move. Red's on the board now. Really good shield positioning from blue there, locking off that far side fire line. Nice double shield from red. Can they earn any points off it though? Blue's starting to accelerate away now at the halfway mark. Red's getting fixated on trying to raise shields rather than just shoot. At this point, it's all about points. You're 11 points down, shields do not matter. Shield takes 2 seconds to raise, assuming you get it straight up first time. You could have fired 2 shots in that time frame that could have earned you 2 points. So when you're down on score, you've got to shoot. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We have our first ever NUCastle champions, NUF. Great play from both teams there. Much better in that second game from Mags than their performance in game 1 there. But NUF just controlling that match from the get-go. Really strong play from NUF, and we'll be keeping NUF on the pitch because they'll be going straight into their bot challenge. So NUF just get a few seconds break, just get the breath back, maybe grab some liquid, and then we roll them straight into their bot challenge. So the bot challenge starts off, unlike the previous games, where everything has been best of threes. This is all now a single game. So you win, you advance, you lose, you're out. It's pretty much that straightforward. Now, obviously, depending on what they achieve, we'll put them in the national ranking 1 through 8. But the key factor is whether or not they can beat the score that's been laid down by Team Chairleg from Barnsley College, because that's the score they've got to beat if they want to get to the finals on 10th of November with Children in Need. And this is the last opportunity to go. This is the last match in the sequence, the last tournament. They are the last team with a chance to get into that tournament now with on BBC Three. See if they can do it. So the way this is going to work, they're going to start off playing against. So the bots have got skill levels. which go from 0 through to 9. 0 is just moving targets. 1 is equivalent to a total beginner, first time you've ever played, really, really predictable, very inaccurate, doesn't really know what they're doing. And it works through from there. We're going to start them against level 3s. So level, which is what we've done with all of the other teams across the UK as we've hit this point in the challenge. So the level 3 bot is a competent beginner, someone who's played a few games, got a bit of a feel for what they're doing, kind of understands movement and shooting, not desperately aggressive yet, not super accurate in any way, but understand fundamentals. Now, we don't expect any of our winning teams to have an issue against the level 3s. We expect them all to beat the level 3s, but what we're playing, starting off here, is getting the experience of playing against the AIs, because it is slightly different to than playing against humans. So the AIs have got when you look at them, they look like a person. It's a kind of spherical green ball on top of a green cone that's moving around, but they've got the same target in front of them that the human players have. And it's actually the target that matters, not the person. So that target, wherever that target moves, it shows you where they're looking. So the center point of the target is where that person is looking. It's their orientation, whether they're looking up, down. So you can see exactly where the spot is looking, where it's aiming, what it's doing. And the shot is going to come from comes out from the center of the target. Okay, so you see exactly where they're aiming from that. You can also see, and also they also raise shields, everything else. They've got exactly the same stats, abilities, everything else as the human players. So level 3 is where we start them off. So we don't expect them to have difficulty beating level 3, just to give that first experience of playing against the bots, because it is a little bit different to humans. We then move them up, obviously assuming they win that, they go up to level 4. We're going against a bit faster, a bit harder, a bit tougher. That's actually where our winners at the commentary tournament, that's where they fell. That's where the bots stopped them. We then go up from there to level 5. The bots can now come a lot faster. A lot faster movement, more aggressive, much more accurate, a lot more firepower coming from them. And that's where the teams for QMC, for College of Esports at the O2 and for Belfast Met, that was where they met their match against the AIs. They beat that, they moved through to level 6. Now level 6, the aggression level of the bots and things doesn't shift that much from level 5s, but the big difference here is up until level 5, all the bots stay upright, pretty much like all the players have been today. When you get to level 6 though, that's where you get this big ability to jump in the bots, and it's not to do with the firepower, it's the fact that they duck. So you'll see them drop down to the ground, and this is replicating players ducking down, knee sliding, all these other maneuvers to drop below and under these shots. So you now, rather than being able to fire across the line, you're having to look up and down to engage targets at different height points, and that becomes much, much more difficult to do. So none of our teams so far have defeated the level 6s. Our team yesterday, Froggang at Heart and Midlothian, they managed to land, they got defeated by level 6s, landing 9 points on them. Barnsley and Cardiff Youth both got defeated by the level 6s but landed 10 points on them. Barnsley conceded 6 points in the process, and Cardiff conceded 13, which is why Cardiff are ahead of Barnsley. So in order for the team here in Newcastle to go through to the BBC show, they've got to do one of these things. They've got to beat level 6. They do that, straight through, no issues. They can lose to the level 6, but score 11 points or more. They can lose to level 6, scoring 10 points, but conceding 15 points or less. Okay, so that's what that's their 3 things. They meet any of those criteria, they're through. Of course, if they lose to level 6, score 10 points and concede 16 points, exactly matching Barnsley, then we've got to do some maths on the previous games and check back through in order to find a defining factor where we can separate these 2 teams, which will be really difficult for us. That's the one outcome we're really hoping doesn't happen, just because it makes our lives hard. But we don't want that. So, let's see what they can do. They're set, they're ready to go. The level 3 bots are in position. So we don't expect this level to give them any particular difficulty. It's just to give them a first experience of working against the AIs. Game on. And I was on mute. That was clever of me. So, sorry about that, folks. So obviously they've defeated the level 3s there. No issues or problems at all there. Working really well. So we weren't really expecting any problems there against the level 3s. The level 3s are very much a tester point for them. Yeah, sorry, Chloe. But we're all good now. We're back. Here we go. Level 4s then. So this is where we start to get a bit of challenge coming in. Again, I'm not expecting NUF to have a problem with level 4s, but I didn't expect the team in Coventry to either. So let's see what happens. Good shield positioning and setup there from the NUF guys. Early lead coming in. And you're not looking at me. I was doing so well through this stream, it's just fallen apart at the end. Sorry about that, folks. So, 6-1. 7-2, 5 points. So, good regular scores going in for the NUF team. Yeah, don't think they're going to have any issues here against the level 4s. Again, nice control, nicely working through here. So bots just a little bit faster, a little bit better on the dodging, not quite as predictable. So we've only had one of the previous teams that's fallen at this at the level 4 hurdle. So I think it's safe to say they're going to be shifting forward to face the level 5s. So the level 5s took out 3 of the other challenge teams because they are quite a significant step up in speed of motion, aggression, fire rate, and all these other elements. So just while the resetting, I will flick it back to me, but I promise I'll get it back to the game before it restarts this time. So I was doing so well this stream, really good, and then hit the mute button and failed to flick it over. But we will forget those bits and we will move on, and that's fine. So moving now to these final stages, please remember to use the text numbers and send some money to Pudsey so they can do good things with it. Thank you again to our partners Ericsson, Vodafone and VMO2 who've been with us every step of the way through this. They've been working really great things in the sort of background behind us, which obviously you don't get to see during the shows, doing all the setup, putting all the connectivity in place for us, making sure that we can get these streams out nicely. It's been incredibly appreciated. The teams from both of those, from both these groups, both VMO2 and Ericsson, have been absolutely spot on all the way through. And the tech that they've allowed us to use is really cool. And this whole use of this, this private 5G network that we've had to go and use for broadcast and streaming from these different locations. Obviously, we have done things from, you think inside a college or inside some of this that you'd be able to work all right, and that's not true because a lot of those networks are private closed networks because they carry student data, they carry all sorts of private information that therefore as a company like ourselves coming to a tournament, quite correctly, we don't have access to. That puts it in a real difficult problem for how do you broadcast this, how do you get it out, and this amazing kit they've got is allowing us to bypass that entirely and operate totally independently of what's going on in this situation. But here we go, let's get back to some bot killing. Level 5s, here we are. So level 5, this has stopped 3 other teams. What's going to happen here at NUF? Much higher volley fire rate coming from the box straight off the bat. Good work of shields, good movement. Red's doing a nice job here. Blue's hammering the points home though. Much tighter game. Very close game now. Blue's bots have pulled it even. NUF really having to work here to try and stay in this game. Said it's not it's not a detriment on any of the teams that have been felled by the level 5s. They are tough. 10 points apiece, 30 seconds played. Bots edge you by a point again. 2 points now. NU have got to dig deep here if they're going to get back in this game. 20 seconds. 3-point lead for the Bots now. 1 point lead. They've pulled it back. 13 points each. Coming to the final 10 seconds. They've got to land some points here. That's it. 15-14. Is that going to be enough? Can they evade? 3 seconds. 2, 1. Going to overtime. 2, 1. Game on. 16-15. They've fallen at the level 5 hurdle. Barnsley College and Cardiff Youth are going through to the BBC Three show. It's a great work from our NUCastle champions, but level 5 is where they end. Well, that was quite a lot of adrenaline there. So that was a really, really good gameplay there. So close at the end. Got to admit, I think everyone here thought they were going to go through to the level 6s, but not to be, unfortunately. Level 5s yet again stopping another team in their tracks. Now, we're now past 4 o'clock. We can tell you a bit more about Game On. So Game On is the show happening at 7 p.m. on the 10th of November. It's going to be hosted by Vicky Hope and Stefan Powell, who are going to be the lead hosts for the show. Now, it's a whole load of stuff that's going to come out across different areas and things. But obviously, the bit that's important to us is what's happening with HADO. So, with HADO, our 2 winning teams, so Cardiff Youth and Barnsley College, who hopefully both watching this and now know that if they're both through, you guys are obviously going to face off against each other. You're also going to face off against 2 celebrity teams. Okay? Celebrity team 1, for the celebrity blue team, consists of Tilly Marty, Ellie Simmons, and Nia Wilson. That is a lot of gold medals to go up against, guys. And we have been training them. And yeah, you're going to have to work. The red celebrity team you're going to be going up against is Bioak and Fenwa, Tilly Lockie, and Sam Queck. Again, it's a lot of sporting prowess and some serious medal winning on that team as well. So you've got 2 really good teams here, guys. You're going to be moving up against. You've got a mix, obviously, of sports, of genders, of experience, of whole ages, a whole range of stuff in your opponents here. So a great way of looking at what HADO can do. And as you should know by now, age, gender, all the rest of it has no bearing on your ability to play. So you're going to be facing off against each other. You're going to be facing against these teams as part of this whole setup. It is a 2-hour show. It's 7 p.m. on 10th of November. Please make sure you watch BBC Three, iPlayer, or TikTok. It'll be live on all of them. It'd be great to see you there. Thank you very much for having followed us through this national campaign as we worked our way around the UK. 8 absolutely amazing tournaments, fantastic teams, huge amounts of passion and energy across the board from HADO. Obviously, please follow us as we move on from here. There's going to be lots more tournaments, obviously not just for children in need, but across the whole competitive circuit for HADO. And if you've been watching and you've enjoyed watching and you like HADO, obviously you've clicked subscribe by now, haven't you? But come and join us at one of the HADO centres. Come and learn the sport, get involved, join a team, start competing. It is an amazing sport. And we're looking for more and more players all across the UK. Again, thank you very much for watching. We will see you in the future.